Have you ever brushed off a midnight bathroom trip, a little backache, or a weak stream, and thought it's just age catching up with me? What if I told you that those small, ordinary annoyances could actually be silent, alarms, whispers from your body that something far more dangerous may already be underway? I'm Dr. Edward Blake, and in the next few minutes, I want to show you why ignoring these everyday signs could be one of the biggest mistakes of your life. Here's the truth: prostate cancer doesn't always crash into your life with obvious pain or dramatic symptoms. It starts quietly, almost politely, hiding behind what looks like fatigue, inconvenience, or the normal process of getting older. That's why so many men don't realize they're in danger until the disease has already advanced. And once it spreads, the odds of survival drop sharply. But when you catch it early, your chances of beating it are almost 100%. That's not hype, that's science. So let me ask you again, are you absolutely sure you're not overlooking the signs right now? Because the food on your plate, the habits in your day, even the little choices you make without thinking, each of them can either protect your prostate or feed the fire that threatens it. And here's where it gets critical. Some of the foods you eat every single week, foods you probably think of as normal or even harmless, may actually be fueling the very process that leads to prostate cancer. But don't panic, because knowledge is power. When you know which foods quietly push your body toward inflammation and hormonal imbalance, and when you know what to swap them for, you take control back into your own hands. And that's exactly what I'm about to give you today. We're going to uncover 7 silent foods that science shows can make prostate cancer worse, and by the end, you'll not only recognize them, you'll know the healthier alternatives to reach for instead. So stay with me. Because what you're about to learn isn't just a diet tip. It could be the reason you get to live 20 years longer, stronger, and with peace of mind. Let's start with one of the biggest silent culprits: processed red meat. Think about the bacon sizzling on a Sunday morning, the hot dog at a ball game, or that deli sandwich you grab on the way to work. Harmless, right? The truth is, every bite is delivering more than just flavor. It's delivering a cocktail of preservatives, nitrates, and saturated fats that quietly inflame your prostate over time. I once had a patient who proudly told me he never smoked, rarely drank, and exercised twice a week, but every lunch without fail, he ate a ham and cheese sub. For years, he thought it was harmless until the urinary symptoms began and the test revealed an aggressive prostate issue. His story isn't rare. Processed meats are engineered to last longer on the shelf, but the very chemicals that preserve them, like sodium nitrite, can create compounds in your body that are linked to cancer growth. And the science backs this up. Multiple large-scale studies have shown that men who consume high amounts of processed red meat face up to a 30% higher risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who rarely touch it. It's not just the meat itself, it's the way it's cooked. High-heat grilling and frying can produce carcinogenic compounds called heterocyclic amines, which act like fuel poured directly onto the fire of inflammation in your prostate. Now here's the good news. You don't have to give up protein, you just have to upgrade it. Swap that bacon or sausage for wild-caught salmon grilled chicken breast, or even plant-based proteins like lentils and beans. These options don't just reduce inflammation, they actively nourish your body with omega-3s, antioxidants, and fiber that support long-term prostate health. But here's the catch. Eliminating processed meat is only one piece of the puzzle. Because what if I told you that the drink in your hand, something millions of men enjoy daily, might be doing even more silent damage to your prostate? And that's exactly what we're uncovering next. And while cutting out processed meats is a huge win for your prostate, let's not forget about what you're washing them down with. Because the drink in your hand, whether it's a cold beer after work, a glass of whiskey at dinner, or that just one cocktail on weekends, can quietly be one of the most destructive habits for your prostate health. I remember a man in his late 50s who came to me with chronic fatigue and constant nighttime bathroom trips. He thought it was just stress from work. But when we dug deeper, his daily reward, 2 beers every evening, had been fueling an inflammation cycle in his prostate for years. It's not about the buzz, it's about the chemistry. Alcohol disrupts the delicate balance of hormones that your prostate depends on. Too much testosterone gets converted into dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, which enlarges the prostate. At the same time, alcohol spikes estrogen levels, creating a hormonal storm that accelerates abnormal growth. Add to that the stress on your liver, which normally filters toxins, and your body is left with fewer defenses against cancerous changes. The data is just as sobering as the drink. Studies published in Cancer Epidemiology show that men who consume heavy amounts of alcohol face up to a 20% higher risk of aggressive prostate cancer. And here's the kicker, it's not just heavy drinking. Even moderate intake, if repeated daily, keeps your body in a state of chronic inflammation that chips away at your health silently. But here's the flip side, when men reduce or eliminate alcohol, prostate inflammation markers drop, sleep improves, and energy levels rise within weeks. If you enjoy a drink, start by setting a cap, no more than 3 drinks per week, and swap half of those for healthier choices, like pomegranate juice or green tea, both loaded with antioxidants that protect your prostate. Still, alcohol is just one piece of the hidden puzzle, because while what you drink can sabotage your prostate, what you sweeten your food and beverages with every single day may be even worse. And that's where we're heading next. If alcohol weakens your prostate by disrupting hormones, sugar attacks it from a completely different angle by feeding inflammation and fueling abnormal growth at the cellular level. Think about how often refined sugar sneaks into your day. The sweetened coffee in the morning, the soda at lunch, the cookies after dinner. Each small choice feels harmless in the moment, but collectively they're like pouring gasoline on the slow-burning fire inside your prostate. One of my patients once told me he hadn't had a sweet tooth in years. But when we broke down his diet, his morning muffin, afternoon sports drink, and nightly ice cream added up to more than 70 grams of sugar, daily, almost triple the recommended amount. He was shocked, and even more shocked when blood tests revealed rising PSA levels. The connection isn't random. Science has repeatedly shown that high sugar intake drives insulin spikes, and excess insulin acts like a growth signal for cancer cells. A study from Johns Hopkins found that men with higher blood sugar levels were more likely to develop aggressive prostate cancer. On top of that, refined sugar promotes chronic inflammation throughout the body, weakening your immune system and lowering your ability to fight off early abnormal cells before they spread. But here's the encouraging part. Cutting back on refined sugar doesn't mean giving up sweetness altogether. Many men find that after just 2 weeks of reducing processed sugar, their cravings naturally decrease, their energy steadies, and even nighttime bathroom trips improve. You can swap soda for sparkling water with lemon trade candy for fresh berries and use natural sweeteners like stevia in place of table sugar. These small changes create an environment in your body that supports healing rather than harm. Still, knowing about sugar isn't the whole story, because what if the very foods you consider healthy, like a tall glass of milk, were silently linked to prostate cancer risk? That surprising connection is exactly what we'll uncover next. Now, sugar may be an obvious suspect, but dairy, especially whole milk and full-fat products, often catches men off guard. For decades, we were told milk does the body good, a symbol of strength and health. But when it comes to your prostate, the story isn't so simple. I recall one patient who insisted he was eating clean. He avoided fried foods, cut back on alcohol, and stayed active. But every morning he poured a tall glass of whole milk and topped his cereal with heavy cream. When his prostate exam showed concerning changes, he couldn't believe that something so healthy might be part of the problem. And yet studies suggest a clear pattern. Men who consume the highest levels of full-fat dairy have a greater risk of aggressive prostate cancer compared to those who consume little or none. The science points to 2 key culprits. First, the saturated fats in whole milk promote systemic inflammation, the very environment where cancer cells thrive. Second, milk proteins and naturally occurring hormones can elevate levels of IGF-1, insulin-like growth, factor 1, a hormone strongly associated with increased cancer growth. A Harvard study even reported that men drinking more than 2 servings of dairy per day had a significantly higher risk of fatal prostate cancer. But here's where you have power. You don't have to give up milk completely. You just have to make smarter swaps. Many men find relief by switching to unsweetened almond milk, oat milk, or soy milk, which provide creaminess without the hormonal baggage. Even low-fat yogurt in moderation can be a safer choice if you need dairy in your diet. The key is lowering that saturated fat load and reducing constant exposure to growth-promoting signals. Still, dairy isn't the only comfort food with hidden risks. Because while milk may quietly influence hormones, the way we cook and crave our favorite crispy golden meals creates a far more direct attack on your prostate. And that sizzling danger is exactly where we're heading next. If dairy quietly alters your hormones, fried foods are like a direct assault, loud, obvious, and relentless. Picture the crunch of French fries, the golden crust of fried chicken, or that greasy bag of onion rings. They taste comforting, they feel indulgent, but every bite is laced with compounds that your prostate fears the most. One man I treated swore he had cut out sugar and alcohol completely, but he admitted he couldn't resist the drive-through fried chicken 3 nights a week freeze on the side. His cholesterol climbed, his waistline expanded, and more importantly, his prostate became a constant source of inflammation. Within months, he went from mild urinary symptoms to severe enlargement, forcing him to confront his diet head-on. Here's the science: when food is fried at high temperatures, it forms carcinogenic chemicals like acrylamide and heterocyclic amines molecules, proven to damage DNA and fuel cancerous changes. Add to that the repeated use of industrial oils in fast food fryers, which oxidize into toxic fats, and you've got a recipe for chronic inflammation. A study in the Prostate Journal found that men who consumed fried foods at least once a week had a 30–35% higher risk of developing aggressive prostate cancer. And it's not just cancer-fried diets strain the bladder, kidneys, and cardiovascular system, multiplying the health toll. But here's the empowering shift: you can still enjoy that crispy texture without poisoning your body. Switch to oven baking, air frying with olive oil, or grilling for flavor without the toxic load. Even small swaps, sweet potato wedges baked instead of French fries, lower your risk while keeping your meals satisfying. Yet fried foods aren't the only hidden trap, because while these meals attack from the pan, the neatly packaged cans sitting in your pantry may be leaching silent toxins into your body every single day. And that's the danger we need to expose next. If fried foods hit your prostate like a hammer can, and processed foods attack more quietly, but just as dangerously. Think of the convenience soups, canned meats, instant noodles, microwave dinners. They sit in your pantry for months waiting for the busy day when you crack one open. But inside those packages isn't just food. It's a cocktail of chemicals and additives your prostate never asked for. I once met a retired teacher who prided himself on keeping life simple. Most of his meals came from cans, stews, beans, tuna, and even canned fruit. He thought he was saving money and time, but what he didn't realize was that the lining of many cans contains BPA, a chemical linked to hormonal disruption and increased cancer risk. Pair that with sky-high sodium and preservatives designed to make food last unnaturally long, and his body was under constant assault without him even noticing. The research is clear. A study in Environmental Health Perspectives found that men with higher BPA exposure had significantly higher rates of prostate abnormalities. On top of that, the massive sodium content in canned and processed foods drives up blood pressure, which reduces blood flow to the prostate and weakens overall urinary health. Add nitrates, artificial flavorings, and excess sugar hidden in these products, and you're left with meals that look harmless but chip away at your health day by day. Here's the good news. You don't have to give up convenience. Just make smarter choices. Look for BPA-free packaging, low-sodium options, or better yet, choose frozen vegetables and freshly prepared foods that give you nutrients without the chemical baggage. Batch cooking on weekends and storing meals in glass containers can replace that reliance on cans without stealing your time. Still as dangerous as canned foods are, there's one last category that men fall into again and again. It's fast, salty, addictive, and everywhere. And it may be the single biggest reason your prostate is under attack. Let's uncover it now. And now we come to the final culprit: salty fast food. Burgers, pizzas, fried chicken buckets, and those instant noodles that promise comfort in minutes. They're cheap, tasty, and everywhere. But for your prostate, these foods are a ticking time bomb. I once had a patient in his 60s who joked that McDonald's was his second kitchen. Breakfast sandwiches in the morning, burgers for lunch, fried chicken for dinner. He felt fine until his blood pressure spiked, his kidney function declined, and his prostate swelled to the point where he could barely pass urine without pain. What he thought was just a little salt was in reality a constant overload tearing down his health. Here's the science: high sodium intake doesn't just affect your heart. It directly impacts your prostate by increasing urinary frequency and irritation. When your body holds on to extra fluid to balance that salt, your bladder and prostate are placed under continuous stress. Over time, this creates inflammation that can accelerate both benign enlargement and cancer progression. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that diets high in sodium are strongly linked with worsened lower urinary tract symptoms, meaning more bathroom trips, weaker flow, and higher risk of complications. But here's the hopeful part. Once men reduce their fast food intake, improvements can come surprisingly fast. Within weeks, blood pressure stabilizes, energy rises, and prostate discomfort often eases. Replacing fast food with home-cooked meals seasoned with herbs instead of salt isn't just healthier, it's often cheaper. A grilled chicken salad, a hearty vegetable soup, or even a baked potato with olive oil can deliver satisfaction without the hidden sodium bomb. Now we've uncovered 7 silent foods that sabotage your prostate. But simply knowing the problem isn't enough. Because the real turning point comes when you connect the dots, when you see how these foods interact, how they compound, and how simple swaps can literally add years to your life. And that's exactly what we'll wrap up with in the conclusion. So here's the truth, my friend. Your prostate health is not determined by fate. It's shaped by the choices you make every single day. You've now learned the 7 silent foods that quietly chip away at your health. But you've also learned that every small change, every swap you make in your kitchen, every mindful choice at the grocery store stacks the odds in your favor. That's powerful. That's you taking control back. I know it can feel overwhelming. Maybe you've eaten these foods for years. Maybe some of them are family favorites. Maybe you're wondering if it's too late to change. Let me assure you it's not. The body is remarkably resilient. When you start cutting back on the foods that inflame your prostate and replacing them with those that nourish it, your body responds. Inflammation lowers, energy rises, and your quality of life improves often faster than you think. That's why I want you to take this seriously. Don't just watch this video and move on. Save it. Revisit it when you're planning meals. Share it with your brother, your father, your best friend, because knowledge is useless if it stays hidden. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, join this community of men who are committed to staying informed, staying strong, and protecting their health. Every week, I share the latest medical insights, practical tips, and life-saving strategies that can help you safeguard your prostate and your future. And here's the message I want to leave you with. Prostate cancer is not a silent death sentence when caught early and when you care for your body consistently. The more you know, the more power you have. By paying attention, by making small but meaningful changes, you're not just protecting your prostate, you're protecting your independence, your vitality, and the years you get to spend with the people you love. Remember, you are not powerless. You have choices, you have knowledge, and you have the chance to live longer, stronger, and healthier. Let's make it happen together.